And as expected, it was recent Supreme Court rulings affecting gender-affirming care, the attacks on trans youth, the opt-out of LGBTQ lessons, Supreme Court ruling, a lot of things like that were top of mind. So it was good to hear that our elected officials are concerned about that and paying attention.
Did you say that bar's name was Fat Cat?
Yeah, when you said that, I thought of the Onion, and I thought, is that an onion? All the politicians showed up at Fat Cat.
Right.
When you're saying that about the conversations you were having, it reminded me of the conversations that we were having here at our Pride Festival. It was our parade and the festival simultaneously this past weekend. And I think that the vibe was that folks were happy to be in community together, but politics was like right there, top of mind.
It so was. I was in the parade route, so I was interviewing people on the sidelines. I was interviewing people as they marched, taking photos, and it's so much noise, so many people screaming. But the people that got the groups that got the largest reaction, number one, Governor Pritzker. Like, it was thunderous. Like, I was blown away, in shock. I'm kind of getting chills thinking about it, actually. People, at least that were at the parade, love him. Yep. And then next was, there were two groups, the Puerto Rican Cultural Center's Trans Chicago Empowerment Center. They carried protest signs calling for the abolition of ICE. And huge reaction, positive reaction from the crowd for that. And then last in the parade was a similar group, the Gay Liberation Network, that had a similar message against ICE. And people went crazy for that. So...
Now, did you say President Pritzker?
Did I say president?
No, I was hoping that you did, but...
It seems like that's not happening, so...
Well, he's announced that he's running for a third term.
Yeah, which I thought maybe he would run for president, but when our Lieutenant Governor, Juliana Stratton, announced she's running for Congress, I'm actually hoping to interview her within the next couple weeks once I get back from vacation. When she announced she's running for Congress, I was like, okay, Pritzker's going to stay as governor, I think. Yeah. So,
okay. When is his term up?
I'll have to double check.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I think
it's 26.
It was interesting. I was listening
to... I think it's 26.
Yeah. So.
I was listening to Richard. Well, that's plenty of time. He can still be governor, and then
I know he could. I feel the same.
The reason why I say that is that on Monday I was listening to on WCPT Richard Chu and Joan Esposito, and they were saying how they were concurring and coming to from a different ways, but they were like, a governor is going to be the candidate. It's not going to be a senator. It's not going to be a representative. It needs to be a governor right now. And I just thought that was a very interesting. We're going to be keeping our eye on Governor Pritzker.
Yeah, we'll see. So.
See where he's going. I do want to give folks some updates. The House doesn't have the votes, literally. Apparently, there are weather delays happening in Washington, and not all of the GOP legislators are back. So they quite literally don't have the votes to get this done right now. That was as of a couple minutes ago, per the AP News reporting. So, a quick question, Jake, did you get to see the WCPT float?
I did, yes. I didn't. I wish I took photos. I was so distracted doing an interview as they passed, so I didn't really get to do much. But I did notice as they were passing, like, oh, that's them. So.
That's them. Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Jake, for spending this hour with us. I can't wait to have you back here again in a couple weeks, and you're also going to be filling in for us when Jim and I are on vacation later this month. So we're very much in gratitude to you.
I'm grateful too. I'm really excited for the opportunity.
You can visit windycitytimes.com/newsletters to sign up for the publication's weekly LGBTQ+ news updates. Thank you, everyone, for listening today. Up next on WCPT 820 is Chu's Views with Richard Chu. On AM 950 Radio, it's the Matt McNeil Show, and stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. And then step into the unknown with Greg Bakken on Ghost Box Radio at 10 p.m. Central. Connect with us on Blue Sky. We're at thegayleyshow.org on Blue Sky. And until tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
From the personal experiences that shaped you to the accomplishments that shaped the world, every moment of a veteran's service is meaningful. At the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, we ensure those moments are never forgotten. For 25 years, the collection has made the experiences of U.S. military veterans accessible to all. Veterans, now is the time to share your story and make our history more complete. To submit your stories, photographs, and documents, visit loc.gov/vets today.
Hi, I'm Marcel Spears. Keeping our global neighborhood safe is a tough job, one made just a bit safer with the help of America's brave military dogs. These dogs, who often take the same risks and make the same sacrifices as our human warriors, keep our troops safe by sniffing out bombs and IEDs, locating enemy positions, and bringing a sense of comfort and home to an almost unimaginable circumstance. Yet, when these brave canine heroes retire, they're not always given the same treatment as our military VIPs, and are too often left overseas. American Humane works to bring home these valiant dogs and reunite them with the people who mean the most to them, their handlers, so they can enjoy happy, healthy, well-deserved retirements. To learn how you can help America's four-footed heroes, visit AmericanHumane.org.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Facts matter now more than ever. This is WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. We're your source for truth.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. The House continues to debate President Trump's tax and spending cuts package this morning. The Senate has already approved the bill. Republicans worked past midnight to try and round up support. 4 people have died following a drive-by shooting in Chicago. Police say 14 others have been hospitalized and at least 3 were in critical condition. The shooting happened late Wednesday in Chicago's River North neighborhood. Several media outlets said it happened outside a restaurant and lounge that had hosted an album release party for a rapper. AP correspondent Ben Thomas reports 7 people are missing after an explosion at a California fireworks warehouse.
That explosion Tuesday, captured by Hudson Sheets, was at a fireworks warehouse in Northern California's Yolo County. The ensuing fire setting off more fireworks and eventually collapsing the building. The fire chief in Esparto says 2 people injured received medical care, but 7 people are reported missing. One woman telling the Sacramento Bee her boyfriend and 2 of his brothers are among them, and it was his first day on the job at the warehouse. The cause is under investigation. I'm Ben Thomas.
Rescuers in Indonesia's resort island of Bali continue to search for 29 people missing after a ferry sank. 5 people are reported dead and 31 have been rescued. Liverpool player Diogo Jota and his brother have died in a car accident in Spain. Police were investigating the causes and say no other vehicles were involved. The 28-year-old and his brother, 25-year-old André Silva, were both Portuguese soccer players. A judge declined to set Sean Diddy Combs free on bail ahead of his sex crime sentencing. Combs was convicted on 2 prostitution-related counts. He was found not guilty of sex trafficking and racketeering charges. Microsoft says it's laying off about 9,000 workers, making it the second mass layoff in months and its largest in more than 2 years. More than 800 workers tied to Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond, Washington, were among those losing their jobs. This is AP News. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports on continued clashes in Serbia between police and anti-government protesters.
Serbian police say they've detained dozens of university students and others Wednesday night into Thursday, protesting the populist government of President Alexander Vučić. In the capital, Belgrade, protesters clashed with police and riot gear. University students behind the protests say riot police with batons and shields charged and injured peaceful demonstrators, and that 4 students had to be taken to the hospital. Authorities deny reports of police brutality and excessive force, and the Interior Ministry says 4 officers were injured. There were protests in other cities as well. Tensions in Serbia have soared since a rally Saturday, demanding early parliamentary elections. President Vučić has refused to reschedule a snap vote.
I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late today. Otherwise, a blend of clouds and sunshine develops with a high in the mid-90s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms early on. Partly cloudy, a low near 70. 4th of July Friday, sunshine high 94. Saturday, mostly sunny and breezy, high around 97. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 73. Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Thursday morning, progressives. Yes, and welcome to the July 3rd. That's the 3rd 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our Credo mobile phone and text line. My man Henry and I are hanging it out this morning, doing what we got to do. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com. Glad to be with you guys on this 4th of July Eve. That's what we'll call it today. That's the newly Choose Views defined name of today. It's 4th of July Eve. Catch me on Substack, guys. It's with the long weekend or whatever we want to call it. I'll probably get another article dropped in there. Catch all of our shows, of course, by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views, short versions and long versions with our featured interviews and all the great stuff that we're able to put there. Joan Esposito, of course, live, local, and progressive. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath. Out Chicago. You know, all of our good stuff. Our shows, our interviews. And make your way over to Heartland Signal. I say it every day because every day there's good stuff there. And I'll get into that a little bit in a moment. Today's guests are going to be our great friend Karen Byrne, one of the co-hosts and founders of TruBlu Politics podcast. If you haven't checked it out, you do not know what you're missing. And then we're going to have, I'm just going to call them Shanelle and Marzena, who will be with us this morning in the 7:30 hour from Liberation Stories. I think you guys will really appreciate hearing what these women have to say about fighting back and about standing your ground when it comes to what we believe in. We'll have some clips. We'll have some stories. We have some things to chat about. We were planning on having Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy with us this morning. However, with all that's happening in Washington, he won't be able to make it because he's got to take care of this vote. So, you know, that's what's happening there. But we've got some information from him that we'll share with you guys as we get into the show. But for now, speaking of Congress, check this out, progressives.
President Trump had issued some statements throughout this process saying and urging, insisting that this bill does not cut Medicaid. He's also said some things, he says he doesn't think I'm too much of a smart person. And I'll tell you one thing. It doesn't take a smart person to know if you're being lied to. President Trump, you're either being lied to or you are lying to the American people. Because this bill represents, in the text of this bill, the largest and greatest loss of health care in American history. 17 million Americans will lose their health care on this bill, not undocumented people, not quote unquote the disgusting term illegal, but 17 million Americans will have their health care cut from this bill. On this point of tax on tips, as one of the only people in this body who has lived off of tips, I want to tell you a little bit about the scam of that text, a little bit of the fine print there. The cap on that is $25,000. While you're jacking up taxes on people who make less than $50,000 across the United States, while taking away their SNAP, while taking away their Medicaid, while kicking them off of the ACA and their health care extensions. So if you're at home and you're living off tips, you do the math. Is that worth it to you? Losing all your health care, not able to feed your babies, not being able to put a diaper on their bottom in exchange for what? This bill is a deal with the devil. It explodes our national debt. It militarizes our entire economy, and it strips away health care and basic dignity of the American people. For what? To give Elon Musk a tax break and billionaires the greedy taking of our nation. We cannot stand for it, and we will not support it. You should be ashamed.
Yeah, we have a clip that we're going to play later in the show, or actually not that much later, before Karen comes on, to talk about one of the billionaire names that you guys have heard us talk about before here, and one that definitely is, a concerning person of influence that we have to keep our tabs on. And we've got this really, I think, good clip that talks about why we have to keep our eyes on what these fools are doing. Now, that being said, we have been fortunate enough to have folks like AOC and many others, Malcolm Frost, the list goes on. I'm tired of hearing people say the Dems aren't doing anything. Yes, we want them to do more. They don't have the numbers, but they have to keep fighting. And one of the clips that we're going to play later in the show will talk about what we have to be doing as individuals. We'll get to that later on. But the thing I wanted to say, coming back to AOC and our bench, is that we have one. I don't care what anybody wants to say about they're not this or not that and this purity test and all this other garbage. We have a bench. I was proud to see Representative and Minority Leader Jeffries do something that needed to be done, and that is to talk about who. I mean, if you guys didn't see this, you can catch it on, I'm sure, on YouTube and go to C-SPAN and other places. But Representative Hakeem Jeffries did something that I've been talking about for a long time. And that is every member of the House of Representatives, every Democratic member of the House of Representatives needs to be standing on the Capitol steps. They should do this, once a week. Let's start there. Once a week, that's non-issue based. That's not because of a particular issue, but the issue being the GOP not doing their job. I mean, that was a little bit of old school. That was a little bit of, I'm going to take a little bit of credit for us in Chicago. That was a little bit of Chicagoism for him to stand on the Capitol steps and start to call out representatives and say, why did so-and-so in this state, who's got 30,000 people in his community, why is he voting for this bill this way? And he called out folks. That's what I'm talking about. Excuse the phrase, but get a little gangster. Little gangster wouldn't be a bad thing right now for the Democratic elected officials across the board. You know, if it's Mayor Johnson here, if it's President Preckwinkle, she can be gangster. Don't mess. She's a former school teacher. She's had educator. Let me put it in. Let me broaden that. She's a former educator. It's okay to be a little gangster every now and again. And what Jeffries did, I don't want to refer to him that way, but what Representative Jeffries did is what needs to be done. Let's do it on a weekly basis. Let's just start there, Henry. Once a week, everybody, put your phones down. You know, don't book them. The meeting is midweek, Wednesday at noon. You know, Washington D.C. Standard Time. You need to be on the Capitol steps, and we need to be outing our quote-unquote colleagues. I love how Congresswoman Kelly chuckled when I said, I'm not going to call them colleagues. I think she kind of liked that. But the point that we have to make here is they got to do that all the time, Henry. They got to call them out all the time. Because what will happen is, I've said this for the longest time, and I didn't come up with this. I have to give credit and tip my hat to Eric Grant from the family meeting. He said a long time ago, he said if the Democratic Party would start outing Republicans and making their names known for the bad things that they're doing, the media will follow that. Eventually, they'll make the news by making the news. And he's right. He was right about that. Hakeem Jeffries did this yesterday. And also he brought a sense of we get it to this conversation. And I was thrilled to death to see him doing that and to hear him doing that. It needs to be done on a regular basis. They need to have the folks out just talking about what the Republicans, not their colleagues, are doing to harm the country. And I believe that there's a certain amount of optics that always plays well with things like this. When people see that the Democratic elected officials and leaders are out like that. Now, Chuck Schumer needs to do the same thing with the Senate. They all need to be out. And then, so on Monday, 3 days a week, here's what it is. On Monday, it's the whole body. On Wednesday, it's the House, and on Friday, it's the Senate. Whatever they choose to do. Maybe it's the whole body it's the Senate on Monday, it's the House on Wednesday, and it's the whole session or whole group on Friday. I don't know, but that needs to happen. So maybe that's a call that we have to make, but I just feel like that's part of what's got to happen. And I like the fact that Representative Jeffries did do that. So listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll give you a couple quick Choose Views news items, some current events, and then I've got a question of the day that ties to this weekend. So number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-555-1509. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-555-1509. That's 800-555-1509. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-555-1509. 800-555-1509.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to the show. All right, let's a couple of quick Choose Views news and some current events Job growth in June was expected to weaken, and that report was set for release today. Is expected to show a deceleration in the pace of hiring, pressured by lingering economic uncertainty. I thought Trump was going to make everything beautiful, maggots and those who didn't vote. Although layoffs remain relatively low, employers are showing caution when it comes to hiring as they weigh the potential impact of the Trump administration's trade policies. The economy is projected to have an added 110,000 jobs in June, down from 139,000 in the prior month, and trailing this year's monthly average of 124,000. It's all on Trump and the GOP, y'all. It just is. U.S. announces a Vietnam trade pact. The U.S. and Vietnam struck a deal that will allow American goods to enter Southeast Asian areas duty-free, according to what Trump announced yesterday. The Vietnamese products coming into the U.S., however, will face a 20% tariff. At the same time, U.S. trade talks with Japan stalled as Trump claimed the country refused to buy American rice. Trade partners are hoping to reach agreements with the U.S. ahead of Trump's July 9th deadline, after which reciprocal tariffs are set to resume. And watch what happens to all of our measuring sticks, the market, unemployment, and employment, or hiring, as we just talked about, and the list goes on. Tesla sales plummet worldwide. Now, I could cheer about that in one way, but there are people that work for Tesla that are good folk, I'm sure. So having them suffer is not fair to them. However, get rid of Elon and let's see how things change. But their quarterly deliveries fell by 13.5% over a year in global figures, which was announced yesterday. The tally of 384,112 vehicles fell nearly 3,000 short of expectations. And last but not least, refi applications jump as rates dip. Refinancing applications rose 7% last week as mortgage rates dropped to their lowest level since April, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. Refinancing demand jumped 40% over the same week a year earlier, but general economic uncertainty kept home buying activity essentially flat. It's the uncertainty, y'all. It's what's going to happen next. It's to try to keep us off some sort of level of balance. So, all right. In terms of Chicago and what's happening this weekend, the big thing, of course, is NASCAR. And so I just wanted to give you guys who are here in the area one bit of information in terms of what's happening in Grant Park. As you know, street closures have started already. Grant Park is pretty much shut down, and if you're on Lakeshore Drive, north or southbound, or really anywhere from 18th Street north to probably Randolph, prepare yourself for heavy traffic if you're going to try to get through there today or tomorrow. The race is on Saturday and Sunday, but make sure that if you're going to be in the area, that you're prepared. If you're going to be in a car, particularly prepared to have some delays today and tomorrow, and then watch for the closures. And then if you're going to be on foot, just be mindful that you may have to walk a little bit further around because there are barricades that are up, and be careful if you're going to be on a bike this weekend. As it relates to the 4th of July weekend, everybody does their thing, whatever that may be, from cooking to going to the beach to going to the park and hanging out. All sorts of things. If you're getting ready to get on the road today or tomorrow, you've heard me say this before or a version of it. Check out your ride before you hop in the car and just get on a 5-hour car trip. Don't do that, okay? Run to the dealership, get a quick, review if you're going to make your trip. If you're going to make your 4th of July weekend a car trip, just take a couple minutes a day and try to get your car checked out. It's worth it. Because I'd rather be sitting in the dealership today for 2 hours than sitting on the side of the road or wherever for who knows how long. So just take some time, guys, if you're going to be on the road anywhere in the country. Make sure you're giving yourself that little bit of certainty and safety. If you're going to be hanging out with family, it's going to be hot this weekend. If you're going to be outside, sitting in the sun, wear some sunblock, wear a cap, keep your sunglasses nearby, and by all means, stay hydrated. So just Uncle Richard being Uncle Richard. Henry's laughing. He's like, oh, God, here he goes again. And then to add to the 4th of July, thought, celebration, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I know we talked earlier in the week with Michelle and with Dante about what 4th of July means in terms of the U.S.'s independence, but also that 89-year gap between the U.S. independence and the end of slavery and the years between when black folks were still enslaved while the nation was celebrating its independence. So you know where I stand and what I talked about earlier in the week. However, I'm always an optimist and always looking at how we're moving forward. But I have to say, some people that responded to me in those conversations, I appreciate the comments that you made about, touching that third rail. But as part of the weekend, any weekend, but particularly a holiday weekend, there's one thing that we all pretty much have in common. And that is what I said earlier. We cook out, we hang out, we do all sorts of things of that nature. But we also watch a lot of television. So I was thinking about this over the last weekend. I thought, I'm going to ask this question today. And here's the question, guys. And you'll call in, text in, whatever you got to do. But I'd like to hear from you. Make the quick phone call. We'll try to get you in. Excuse me. And that's this. A couple weeks ago, I asked the question about, tell me a song that you feel has a political or social message. And you guys were great in answering that question. So now what I want to ask as we get into this holiday weekend, tell me a movie that you feel has a political or social message, or even specifically is a 4th of July-esque movie. But what's your movie? What's your political movie? What's your, message movie about wherever we are, whatever we're doing, that you said that's kind of my go-to movie? And you might have 2 or 3. I know with music, it was probably a lot easier for you guys to drop some songs on us. But drop a few movie titles on me that you watch that represent political and social change any time of the year, not just during the 4th of July weekend, but any time during the year. And if you've got a 4th of July weekend movie that you watch, let us know about that. We'll want to share it and see what people have to say. So it's today's question about art, if you will, not music, but it's going to be about the movie. What's your political or social message movie that you turn to? Give us a call on that. Hit us with the text. I'm sure Henry will be busy if you guys call in, because I'd love to hear what your movie is. So hit us at 773-763-9278, because why? That's the Credo mobile phone and text line. They're our partner, and we love having them to rub shoulders with. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Derek Blakely. Let me put my glasses on, Henry, because I was like, can't read. Derek Blakely will be in for Joan Esposito, and his guests include Marquin McDonald, that's a tough one to say, community safety advocate and member of the 2nd Police District Council, Abriere Minor, member of the Chicago Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability, and media and political consultant Delmarie Cobb. Live, Local, and Progressive, that's Joan Esposito. But today, Derek Blakely will be sitting in for Joan. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by co-host Dr. Kathy Tynas, internist at Alivio Health Services, and their guests will include Reed McCollum, chair of the Democratic Party of DuPage County, and Sahir Hagadusti, executive director of Win Without War and Win Without War Education Fund, a diverse network of activists and organizations working for a more peaceful, progressive U.S. foreign policy. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7, as you know, Central Time here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Yeah, guys, there you go. And make sure you check out all of our podcasts, as I've said before. And one last thing, not one last thing, but one other thing. Remember that on the 12th, Hal Sparks will be up at Max and Benny's restaurant for the live broadcast. Max and Benny's restaurant, deli, bakery in Northbrook. Join Hal and Johnny Million for a special live broadcast, a Hal Sparks radio program, Saturday, July 12th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you can make it there, that's great. Tickets are now on sale for the low cost of $20 each. Get your tickets. Visit heartlandsignal.com and click on the Hal Sparks live event banner at the top of the page. They will go fast, so get yourself over there. If you won't be able to make it out to Max and Benny's, make sure to tune in live Saturday, July 12th from 11 until 1 Central Time. There you go. And we got a few more things we'll read to you as we go along. But that's it. Oh, Heartland. I wanted to just make sure I remind you guys in terms of Heartland and what's happening at Heartland Signal on X. Some of the clips that, just as a quick reminder, on the book bans down in Tennessee, and Eric Hovde is at it again, and Tim Mitchell's reportedly eyeing GOP the governor's race in Wisconsin. So there's a couple of great clips that are over there that you guys want to check out. And can you believe this, Henry, that the Tennessee legislature is banning Calvin and Hobbes books? Yeah, Calvin and the Magic Tree House barred from school libraries. Can you believe that, y'all? These people they're that uptight. And what I find interesting is the number of times that when these same folks who want to talk about all these things to ban and all these things that are bad for our children and bad for the schools and bad for the libraries, 9.999% of the time, the people that, and it always circles around something to do with children and grooming and sex ed and so forth. But 9.9999% of the time, it's some crazy looking dude that is not of the stereotypical group that they want to label. In other words, some stereotypical crazy A dude that is part of the GOP, part of MAGA, part of some crazy A church group. That's the ones that are actually causing this sort of hell and terror for our children, kidnapping them and assaulting them and all this other garbage. Lordy, lordy, lordy. All right, y'all. Let's take a quick break, Henry, because we want to make sure that we keep things moving forward. 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. That's 800-708-3091.
You are listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late today. Otherwise, a blend of clouds and sunshine develops with a high in the mid-90s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms early on. Partly cloudy, a low near 70. 4th of July, Friday, sunshine high 94. Saturday, mostly sunny and breezy, high around 97. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 73.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Progressives, liberals, independents, and even some confused middle of the road GOPers that are trying to find their way away from that craziness. We welcome you to our show. We welcome you to our station and broadcast. You got a home here. You may have to sit in the back of the bus and be quiet if you've been on that other side. But we're not just, we are a progressive station, but we are also as progressives. That's the cool thing about it. as progressives, we are welcoming to folks that want to make change in the country. And so, we want to make sure that you understand that. All right. Some movies. American President. Thanks, Diane, for that reminder, that text. Yankee Doodle Dandy. Okay. All right. There we go. And not only are these 4th of July-esque movies, but they also do have a political kind of social message to it. And then let's see. We got another one from, this is coming from Arizona. Black Eyed Peas, the song "Where Is the Love?" So they still send in their song, Henry. All right, there we go. We got love for you. So there it is. Let's bring on our good friend Karen Byrne. Well, wait, sorry. I want you guys to hear this right as we bring Karen on. Let's go with that, Peter Thiel.
So let me get this straight. You build PayPal, get rich off of other people's transactions, and then spend the rest of your life trying to delete democracy? Yeah, okay. We need to talk about Peter Thiel, the tech vampire cosplaying as a patriot, quietly bankrolling the fall of everything that we pretend still works in this country. Also, shout out to my friend Becca, because she went deep into the lore. Her breakdowns are required viewing, and I'll add her below in the description so you can go check her out. So back to Pete. He dropped $1.25 million on Trump's campaign in 2016, like it was some sort of early-stage startup investment. He didn't just support Trump, he helped build the infrastructure, sat on his transition team, whispered sweet fascist nothings into Republican ears, all while writing essays about how freedom and democracy are incompatible. That's not edgy, that's terrifying. Peter doesn't just want to influence government, he wants to gut it and rebuild it with nothing but clearance badge surveillance feeds and terms of service that nobody agreed to. So enter Palantir, his little data octopus, used by ICE, used by the FBI, used by pretty much anyone who wants to track, deport, or criminalize in bulk. This isn't conspiracy theory, it's contracted fact. Your location, your networks, your digital footprint. Thiel helped sell that to the government with a bow on top. And let's not forget, he's been grooming a whole lineup of frat boy fascists to carry the vision forward. J.D. Vance? Yeah, that's his political science fair project. Project 2025? You guessed it. Thiel's fingerprints are all over it. Is deregulation, civil service purging, theocracy light, with a tech bro sheen, and the soul of a dystopian TED Talk. And Doge? No, not the meme coin. The Department of Government Efficiency, which is rich, coming from a man who's never waited in the line at a DMV. The only thing they're efficient at is killing grants, slashing agency budgets, and turning civil servants into political casualties. Thiel's Dream America is run like a startup. No ethics board, no voters, just venture capital and vibes. Peter Thiel doesn't need to run for office. He already bought the seats, built the stage, and designed the lighting. While the rest of us are sitting over here arguing about headlines, he's over there editing the credits. He is Silicon Valley's shadow lobbyist for an authoritarian rule. And the most dangerous thing about him, he doesn't want to be famous. He just wants to win. And if you're not watching, you won't know what's been taken until it's already gone.
What a brilliant takedown of Peter Thiel and who he is. And this is why I say, with all that's going on, don't get distracted. Let's bring our good friend Karen Byrne on from TruBlu Politics podcast. Good morning, Karen. How are you today?
That's perfectly sums it up.
I thought you'd like that.
The one thing that I will say, if I, had any, and it's not really a criticism of it, but just kind of, the thing of it is Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and all of these autocratic, these fascist tech bros, they don't have to whisper anything in the Republican or Donald Trump's ears.
Yeah.
To move them over to being fascist. They're fascist. They've been fascist for a long time.
They just added seed money. Yeah. Sorry, Karen, go ahead.
Exactly. No, exactly right. And, and the media has let the Republican Party go on and do that and hasn't spoken about what their policies are, their sociopathic policies, because they've always been sociopathic, if we're being honest. And now it's just gotten exponentially worse and emboldened under Donald Trump and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and all of these people that can, throw their weight and their money behind it. So, This is the moment that we're in. Can I just say, as far as movies for me?
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Get Out.
Oh,
yeah,
yes. Get Out. Why is it okay? So why is it? Because I know you've got a good laundry list of movies in this space, but why is it Get Out?
Because I feel it is an important social commentary on, in particular, white liberals.
Wow.
And for me,
you went there.
I did. No, I did, because we have to be honest. Because, we have to be honest about it. And I mean, every single white liberal has been in company of people that say that they're liberal or say that they're not racist. And yet it always has a way of rearing its ugly head in the most passive, aggressive ways, and just kind of, and just to, be resting. We got lazy and we got complacent. We thought that we were further along than we actually were, and that just voting for Obama was enough. Yeah. When in reality, we have all, as white Americans, been socially conditioned. So, it's there. Karen, and so it's just
on this lead up to 4th of July, and when I've talked about the 89-year gap, if we want to give the white liberals or the white conservatives or everybody a little bit of a pat on their back of post-enslavement and saying, all the things that have said, I did the math. I said, okay, if we want to go there and say, all right, it's okay, you get a pass from enslavement forward. But when I said, what about the 89 years from the American independence, which we celebrate tomorrow, to the end of enslavement? What about those 89 years, 7, 9 years, 7 years, 9 years ago, that window? Because that's, measurably should be the thing that the country could look at and go, yeah, right here, this is, and I'm being very liberal, quote unquote, with my assessment of that. But you heard me talk about that earlier in the week. You probably thought, Richard, you're crazy. It's all the numbers, not just that 89 years. But I was trying to make a little bit of a point for the softies out there that whine about. So take the baton and school your buddy on that.
Well, right, and but yes, and look, we started our origins, and we, and if it hurts your feelings, it hurts your feelings, and that's okay, because after your feelings, if that's, it's just like, buck up, it's time to be honest, and this country was founded on genocide and built on the backs of slaves. Enslaved human beings that other human beings who claim to be Christian human beings did. So we have to be very clear and honest about that. And that is, the 4th of July, and the Declaration of Independence and, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Those are all, it's aspirational, but, rich white male landowners were the only people that were franchised in the beginning, and then gradually over time, then poor white men, non-landowning white men were invited in and able to voice their voice, but that's only the most racist white men, right?
That was hey Karen, that was the entry password. Do you have a certain vocabulary of racist and sexist language that you can use? If you do, then you can join us. If you don't, then you have to stay out there with the rest of them. It was exactly. I'm making light of it based on what Karen just handed me the baton on, but that's actually what it was. To be included. If you weren't a rich white dude during enslavement or post-enslavement, to be included in the club of rich white dudes, they would let you in as a white dude, but you had to have a certain attitude about, at the time, enslaved people or post-enslavement black people. That was the code. That was the litmus test, is where you stood on those who were enslaved or who were freed slaves. That's the truth, y'all, in case you didn't know.
Sure, and it hasn't changed really, and I mean, there's people, of all different backgrounds, all different colors, that are in the same socioeconomic boat, and the media runs around, and I mean, we just saw it, it's about the cost of groceries, it's about people can't make it or whatever. And yet, we know now, when you're able to sell merch, for alligator Alcatraz, I mean, it had not, and nobody's saying boo about the cost of stuff right now, right? So I mean, it's obvious, like it's ridiculously obvious now. I mean, there can be no arguing it anymore from the right.
Karen, check this out. And you were probably going to say and some of the liberals. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but check this out. Your history, and this is something that a lot of people, and I'm going to get into this in more detail next week. But I wanted to, since you talk about alligator Alcatraz, it's inhumane as all get out. People know that, and the Christian right should know it first. But they're the ones that are the biggest hypocrites right now. But here's the other part that the media is not talking about when it comes to alligator Alcatraz. And that is the historical racist trope of alligators, alligator bait, and black folks in America. And of all places in the state of Florida. See, this is where I know that people will say, well, the media this, the media that. But Karen and I are going to drill down on the media because they aren't doing their job. They're talking about this from a purely, oh my gosh, it's harmful and it's terrible and how could we be doing this? And at the same time trying to justify it. But not one, have I seen not one person on any network or any cable outlet, not one has said a daggone thing about the racist propaganda during enslavement and during Jim Crow about alligators and black people, about alligators and alligator bait, and where that really comes from and what it was meant to do in terms of causing harm. And what that, on this anniversary weekend, people don't want to talk about is how black babies were used as alligator bait and as a tool to desensitize other white folks around, but also to create a certain amount of threat to black families about what we'll do to your babies if you don't comply. So don't give me this garbage, America, about not understanding this history and not wanting to talk about the history. It was real. Well, it happened. Right. And now here we are again, alligator Alcatraz. Give me a break.
Yeah, we're still dealing with it. I mean, we haven't, and I mean, we can go back and, throughout history after, post-Civil War, and the 40 Acres and a Mule and the, and Reformation and giving, these Confederate generals a pass, they should have been hung. And I'm not pro capital punishment, but as that was the, punishment of the time, they should have been hung. They were traitors. Yep. But then throughout our history, it has always been, there have been factions and, people in this country that have actively operated to oppress, to take away, to disenfranchise. And those people right now are in the White House. That group of people are controlling Congress. And unless the good people in this country get involved and get out there and fight against this and say no, we can no longer just sit there and make nice and pretend like this is not happening. We have got to, and I'm talking to the white people out there, we have got to be honest with who these people are. And I will not, I hear people, good white liberals saying all the time about, they've got these Republican voting friends, and it's like, but he's a good guy.
Yeah,
but he's a good guy. he's like, he makes off-color jokes, but he's a good guy. And no, he's not. No, he's not. Stop protecting these people. Stop giving them a pass. And I'm going to say this, you were talking about, not calling out calling out the Republicans, right? So good on Hakeem Jeffries, on Representative Jeffries. But, I called Mark Warner's office, and I said to his staffer, I said, look, I really appreciate Senator Warner, and I know that he has a lot of friends across the aisle who he's hearing from, and they're afraid, and they're this and they're that. And I'm like, tell him to stop protecting them.
Thank you.
Stop protecting them. Why is he protecting them? Out them. Right. I want names. We want names.
That's what we want them to have to be. Listen, part of the reason that they wanted to get that Trump wants to get this bill across the finish line before this weekend is obvious. It's a big bill for him. It's a way for him to, peacock his feathers. Blah blah blah. Look what I did for the country. Blah. We know the show person's part of this. It's also to protect. It's also Mike Johnson's objective and Thune's objective, so that they can go home and not have to deal with the fight that they're going to get from their constituents, which is a form of outing them, and it needs to happen. So, meaning that we need to continue to out them. So I appreciate what you're saying about, I'm down with Warner, but doggone it, stop calling them your colleagues. That's why yesterday, when I was so fortunate to have Congresswoman Kelly on, I said, and she chuckled. I said, I'm not going to call them your colleagues because they're hurting you. And she chuckled at that. But we have to stop calling them our doggone friends. And, no.
Oh, for sure. That's a wrap.
No, they're the alligators. They're not my doggone friend.
You don't have access to me and mine. I mean, that's the way it is, and I don't care. Like I am zero tolerance when it comes to that kind of,
Absolutely.
When it comes to that.
Listen.
We have to be, because otherwise we're part of the problem. We can't, you're aiding and abetting if you're complicit, if you're silent, if you're not disrupting this, and calling it out at every turn and educating yourself. Educate yourself on the true history of this country.
Listen, I don't want to just skip by that. Let me come back and slow the train down for a second. What Karen just said about educating yourself, that can be painful for a lot of people. But once you get through and see and review, and you check and double check, because there's some garbage out there. But do some research and get some historical perspectives. Why do you think they want to get rid of history on so many fronts? They don't want you to know, because if you know, then at some point the good nature of all of us that we're born with, I believe, you kind of go, well, wait a minute, that isn't really who I am. But they don't want you to know that. So to Karen's great point, educate yourself, dig in. One of the things that the beauty of a podcast like Karen has, and the shows and all the different things that we all do, is it's to inform you. It's not just to yell and scream. It's to try to inform a little bit. And then once you get a little bit of knowledge, then you want to become dangerous and calling people on the carpet in the moment. And Karen is very, very good at that. And I try to be good at it as good as I can. Everybody needs to be willing to do what Hakeem Jeffries did. I think that, that was a step that needed to be taken a long time ago, but keep it going. Keep that vessel open and just keep driving a Mack truck through it, or driving a semi-truck. I don't want to promote Mack trucks, but driving a semi-truck through it. Call them on the moment, in the moment, on time. Don't wait 3 days. Do it right now.
No. In the moment, you have to. That is key. In the moment, do not. I mean, for me, it's a reflex. It's got, it's at the point where it's just a reflex. Like it's just going. It's a natural response. That is involuntary almost. But can I just, so real quick, because I know we're coming to the end of the time here, but so we are going to People's Post Alliance, our friend Walter Mitchell, and a group of us, we're going to be out at 7500 Roosevelt Road in front of the Taco Bell near the USPS Postal or Distribution Center in Forest Park. Saturday, 10 to 12. We would love to see people. Also, there's going to be a rally at 11 o'clock at Federal Plaza for the 4th of July. Wear your patriotic gear because, they're going to say, look at them. They're unpatriotic, protesting on the 4th of July, blah, blah, blah. But we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. And wear your red, white, and blue. The other thing that I want to say, as far as educating ourselves on the history and educate yourself and then educate your children and your grandchildren. And if I can say this, we have had a very dear family friend. Her name is Harriet Robinet, and she wrote children's books, kind of like middle school age, but very, very short reads. But she wrote these books about, the Chicago fire. She wrote books about 40 Acres and a Mule. And I mean, just on and on, just the true history of this country and the Black experience. And if you want to just pick those up, they're like super short reads. But for me, I so enjoy them. And I started reading them later in life because she was a dear friend of ours. But they're so good. They're so good. And they give you a sense of what it was like to live through that time and the experiences, the Black experience during that time in history.
And dare say I what it is still like in so many ways. So
yes, indeed. Yep.
Karen, great to have you. I know you got a busy morning today, so I'm not going to keep you. Go take care of business and be safe this weekend. The rally's on Saturday in Forest Park, 7500 West. Is it Roosevelt Road?
7500 Roosevelt Road. I think it is West Roosevelt Road, but it's in Forest Park. So if you get confused, if it tries to send you somewhere else. But we would love to see people. It's going to be a hot day. We'll have water. And like last time, I had some tacos out there for people and water. So
doing the Lord's work, Karen Byrne. Doing the Lord's work. All right.
God, or I'm going to go crazy. Okay.
Have a great weekend. We'll stay in touch. Thanks for being here this morning. All right. Be well. Bye now.
Happy 4th.
Happy 4th.
Right, be well.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Also, call your senators. Call your governors, your lieutenant governors. Call your AGs. The Capitol switchboard number, 202-224-3121. Let's see if we can get Kurt on real quickly before we go to this break. Hey, Kurt, sorry to keep you on hold, man. What's happening this morning?
Oh, hey, that was a great segment, and I'm glad I was texting you through there. I hope you didn't mind all my little snark there.
Yeah, that's all right. So what's your movie?
Yeah.
What's your movie?
One person actually took it. It was The American President that I was thinking of as far as fictional, and that just brings back a lot of good memories of my time in college, all that stuff, too. And it was actually a good time in the mid-'90s, to be honest with you. Also, that was the movie that springboarded Martin Sheen into The West Wing.
Yeah, that's right. That's actually right. I forgot about that.
And that was one of 2 times Michael J. Fox actually played a Democrat. The other time was Spin City, which came out the following year on TV.
That's right. Sure did. And now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, and as far as the actual movie, like the actual real life thing, The War Room, starring James Carville and George Stephanopoulos, the behind-the-scenes look at the inner workings of the Bill Clinton campaign of 1992.
There you go.
Yeah. And you were saying something about Michael J. Fox before I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No. I was just I was thinking about him on the TV show. Was it Family Ties?
Yeah.
He played this sort of yuppie-esque, very conservative
Reagan Republican
dude. Yeah, sure did. Cool.
And then he played a liberal Democrat on Spin City as a deputy mayor.
I know, crazy stuff.
And then he was also the, what was he? The chief, not the chief of staff, but he was like an advisor, a Democratic advisor to the president and the American president. And he was like the George Stephanopoulos.
And who can forget Marty McFly? So not a political movie, but one of Michael Fox's great works. Listen, man, we got to hit this break. But
I was going to say real quickly.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, The 89 years are very important that you mentioned, but we need to remember 1863 to 1965 during that Jim Crow between Emancipation Proclamation and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and then the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Yeah, they definitely are. Trust me, I don't forget them on any given day. So thanks, Kurt. We appreciate it, man.
Right,
Have a great Happy 4th. Be well. Stay safe. All right, guys. Good to hear from Kurt this morning, bringing us the knowledge as he always does, all the way from Akron, Ohio, and of course our great friend Karen Byrne, TruBlu Politics podcast. Her movie is that was really I didn't see that one coming. Wow. I'm going to throw one to you guys that you may not be familiar with, but it impacted me at a very young age. It's a James Earl Jones movie, and it's not what you think. Great White Hope. It is a movie called The Man. Look it up. You'll be surprised. Maybe you won't be surprised because you know me. It's called The Man with James Earl Jones. And here's the reason that it influenced me in such a huge way. One, it was a black man, leading actor. Two, the movie was about presidential succession because the president and the vice president both deceased, incapacitated, and the Speaker of the House is James Earl Jones. He becomes president. So I think that movie came out in 1973. I might have my dates wrong. And it influenced me in a huge way because it matched up with what we were learning in school in government class in American history. But it also was an aspirational, like, wow. And this was what year was the movie? 72 or 73. My brother-in-law and sister took me to see that movie at a theater in Milwaukee, Wisconsin back in the day. So that was the one for me. The Man, James Earl Jones. Check it out. We're going to take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. When we come back, Shanelle Matthews and Marzena Zukowska will be with us to talk about liberation stories. We'll be right back.
This is your WCPT Progressive Calendar. Wednesday, July 9th at noon, the City Club of Chicago presents a panel discussion, Revitalizing Historically Disinvested Communities. The panelists will explore how United Way's Neighborhood Network Initiative has created a blueprint of cross-sector collaboration that can revitalize disinvested communities across the Chicago region. The event takes place at Maggiano's Banquets, 111 West Grand Avenue in Chicago. Saturday, July 12th at 11 a.m., the Oak Park Public Library will hold the 3rd Annual Disability Pride March and Rally. The march is for disabled people and allies. A disability is not required to join. Stay after for a rally and disability pride sing-along with Dynamic Links, the Oak Park Music Therapy Center. Registration is encouraged, but drop-ins are just as welcome. To participate, go to the main lobby of the main library at 834 Lake Street in Oak Park.
This is a WCPT Moment in Labor. In 2011, 6 Jimmy John's employees in Minneapolis were fired by their franchise-owning company, Mickey Lynn Enterprises, after fighting for paid sick days. This is a common theme in the union-free world of fast food. Over 13 million Americans work in the fast food industry, making an average of $13,500 a year, not even half the average cost of living. 80% of fast food workers have experienced work-related injuries, and only 13% were covered by their employer. A group of employees referred to as the Jimmy John's Six fought for these rights, creating an online campaign, posting a picture of 2 sandwiches saying one of these was made by a healthy employee, the other was made by a sick employee. Can you tell the difference? Too bad, as Jimmy John's workers do not get paid sick days. Help workers win sick days. More than 32 million Americans work a job that does not offer paid sick days. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We're working for your rights.
Progressive Insurance with insurance for cars, home, boat, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. American contractors guarding aid distribution sites in Gaza are using live ammunition and stun grenades against hungry Palestinians who are scrambling for food. 2 U.S. contractors came forward because they were disturbed by what they considered dangerous and irresponsible practices. The 2 spoke about their colleagues to the AP on condition of anonymity. Rescuers continue searching for nearly 30 people after a ferry sank near Indonesia's resort island of Bali. One man tells the AP how he survived.
Supardi, a survivor, climbed to the top of the sinking boat as it began to fall underwater. In hospital recuperating, he tells the AP about his ordeal. When the ferry started to tilt, I initially intended to jump into the sea, but the ship quickly sank, so I didn't need to jump anymore but sank with the water entering the ship and immediately climbed up to the top. Then at sea, I met other people. There were 4 of us in total, each using a life jacket strung around the neck. Until this morning, one of us died, while the other 3 survived. Family members came to the departure port in panic, some weeping, as they sought reassurance about their loved ones and hoped they were among the survivors. Ferry tragedies are common in Indonesia, an archipelago of more than 17,000 islands, where ferries are often used as transport and safety regulations can lapse. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Brian Koberger pleaded guilty yesterday to the stabbing of 4 University of Idaho students to avoid a potential death sentence. The lead prosecutor said Koberger carefully planned the 2022 attack for months and took multiple steps to cover his tracks. A final House vote is expected today for President Trump's tax and spending cut bill. The package also includes other Republican priorities, including new money for national defense and deportations. Trump has set the deadline for the 4th of July. This is AP News. Liverpool player Diogo Jota and his brother Andre Silva were killed in a car accident in Spain's northwestern city of Zamora. Police say the Lamborghini they were in veered off the road and burst into flames. The accident was still under investigation. A former MVP and 3-time Cy Young Award winner has finally reached the 3K club.
Clayton Kershaw waited until his final pitch to join one of baseball's most exclusive clubs. The 37-year-old longtime Los Angeles Dodgers ace became the 20th pitcher in MLB history to record 3,000 career strikeouts on Wednesday against the White Sox, striking out Vinny Capra on his 100th pitch of the night to end the 6th inning. The game was paused to honor Kershaw, who embraced members of his team and tipped his hat to the crowd. Kershaw is the 4th left-hander to reach 3,000 strikeouts and only the 3rd player to do so with one franchise. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late today. Otherwise, a blend of clouds and sunshine develops with a high in the mid-90s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms early on. Partly cloudy, a low near 70. 4th of July, Friday, sunshine high 94. Saturday, mostly sunny and breezy, high around 97. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 75.
DQ presents How to Make Your Summer Take Flight. Just head into DQ for our new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat. Treat your inner hero to an epic mix of sugar cookie dough, sprinkles, and cake batter flavor. Blend it all with legendary DQ soft serve, and it's enough to tempt Superman himself. Fly into DQ for our new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat before it's gone. And don't miss Superman, only in theaters July 11th. DQ, happy tastes good. Only at participating locations.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to the show. You got to check out all the cool stuff that we're doing. You know, make your way up to Max and Benny's on July 12th, because that's where Hal Sparks is going to be from 11 until 1. You can get tickets at the heartlandsignal.com website. You can listen to us if you can't make it, but do your part and be up there. It's nice. Hal's fun to work with and hang out with, and his humor and all that will be great. And Johnny Million will be there as well. And, of course, I'll be there. So that should be kind of fun. All right, guys. You know, I always laugh about – laugh is not the right word. I just get a chuckle when I think about people who are out there just sort of punching the bullies in the face. And we have a lot of folks in our universe that are doing that. But I don't think that there's anybody that's doing it in a more social justice way than our next two guests. That would be Shanelle Matthews and Marzena Zukowska, who are with us this morning as part of a tour and what it's known as is Liberation Stories. So I'd like to welcome these two ladies to the show this morning. Welcome to Choose Views.
Hey, good morning. Thanks so much for having us.
Absolutely. That was probably Shanelle. Marzena, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning. And I got your name right. I'm so proud of myself. Zukowska is a correct pronunciation. Is that right?
Yes, sounds like you must have grown up in Chicago if you got that right.
No, I am Chicago. We know our names of ethnicity that are Eastern European and Slavic and Polish and all the rest. So we know a little bit. We can cruise down that lane. Gosh, guys, it's great to have you both with us this morning and the work that you guys are doing. I would love for both of you just to take a moment and share, just tell us a little bit about who you are individually, and then we'll talk more about Liberation Stories and the work that you guys are doing and Radical Communications Network. What a great name. So let's start with you, Shanelle. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and all the rest.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, thanks again for having us this morning. We're so glad to be here. I grew up in Los Angeles in the 1980s and 90s, and like most major American cities at that time, we were struggling with a lot of political and systemic violence. The militarized Los Angeles Police Department was banging down people's doors and harassing, surveilling, and murdering Black people. There was the welfare reform that was throwing many families in California and across the country into deep poverty. We were dealing with the HIV and AIDS crisis, and they're connected to all of those political experiences that people like me and my family were having were these stories that undergirded them, that, Black people were inherently criminal, so we had to be controlled by police forces, that people were taking advantage of systems, so they had to be curbed or put on work programs like we're seeing right now with the big, ugly bill. And those stories that kind of undergirded my childhood and my experiences are still relevant today, and that's part of why we wrote this book. But I've been also a movement worker for the last 15 years. I support movements, social justice movements, to build narrative power. I was the director of communications for the Movement for Black Lives and Black Lives Matter for many years, and now I'm a distinguished lecturer in the Department of Anthropology and Interdisciplinary Studies at City College here in New York.
And you want people to try to keep up with you? I mean, with that legendary background and current work that you're doing, that is awesome, Shanelle. And thanks for letting our audience know a little bit about the work that you've done and the work that you're doing. Marzena, tell us a little bit about your background and tell us a little bit about your work right now, and then we'll get into some questions about Liberation Stories.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. I mean, I can barely keep up with Shanelle sometimes. Right. And she's my comrade and co-editor. Yeah, great to be on the show. So, my story, I think, is very much a Chicago story as well. I was born in Poland in 1990. That was a year after the Berlin Wall fell, and it was the end of communism. And then, in 1996, my family immigrated to Chicago. And I grew up, Beaumont and Central on the west side of the city, very much in the Polish community. And, I grew up very much in a storytelling-driven household. I had my mom telling me these stories as I was growing up about, the kind of history that she was taught in like the 1970s and the 1980s, and how different that history was after the end of the authoritarian communist regime in Poland. And that was kind of the first time that I had learned about dominant narratives, about narrative control, the way that history is controlled from the past into the present. And, connecting it to issues, obviously when I got older, but connecting it to issues like exactly what is happening in Palestine right now, just on such a more aggressive and violent level of, the destruction of archives and how important it is for, that tactic of narrative control to persist in order to, make sure that certain populations are subjugated in society. So, the book gets into all of that. And, for me, this book was very much personal. This book tour and coming home to Chicago was very much personal. I left the city when I was 19 years old, moved out to the East Coast. Today, I live in Liverpool in England and very much organized with Eastern Europeans out there. Specifically, I'm the co-director and co-founder of an organization called Pomoc. And, for the last 6 years or so, we've been trying to organize this massive Eastern European community out in the UK around social justice, around progressive politics, trying to build this sense of collective solidarity, ensuring that our folks are standing in solidarity with, Palestinians, with folks who are standing up in these decolonial fights across the UK. So, that's a lot of the work that I'm doing, both as a community organizer and also through this kind of narrative lens that I'm passionate about. So, yeah, thank you so much for having us on the show.
Absolutely. We're talking with Shanelle Matthews, as founder of Radical Communications Network and organizer and communication strategist Marzena Zukowska. We appreciate you both being with us this morning. No matter what community one comes from, disenfranchisement, if you will, can happen in a blink of an eye. Oftentimes, we look at communities that are, I hate to even use the word, but it's a descriptor that does allow us to have the conversation, marginalized. And what I see happening now is that the margins are getting bigger, and there's becoming more and more people and more groups are becoming marginalized. And I'd be curious to hear what each of you have to say about that happening. And let's start with you, Shanelle.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I can appreciate your hesitation to use the word marginalized because it can sound like a pejorative term, but it's not necessarily how we're describing ourselves. What we're describing is what's happening to us, is that people with power, the capitalist class, the wealthy political class, they are pushing people further and further to the margins in order to benefit themselves, and we're seeing this happen across the political spectrum. And one of the things that, we try to do in this book, The Liberation Stories, Building Narrative Power for 21st Century Social Movements, was written by communications workers for communications workers in social movements, but also for people who are trying to figure out how to communicate about these big ideas that do push people to the margin. So how do we communicate about systems when we're told that if a person is poor, it's because they have some kind of moral failing, or that if a person cannot afford health care or doesn't have a job that gives them health care, that they don't deserve it. We're seeing this major fight play out right now with this disastrous, deadly bill that the Senate just passed that would strip 16 million Americans of their health care. And the question becomes, how do we understand the access to health care as a human right, or do we understand it as a privilege? And so when we talk about people being marginalized, we have to actually speak more assertively than that. They are not just simply marginalized. They are being marginalized by a particular class of people in this country who see them as less than human, who see them as unworthy of the same kind of access to benefits and resources and housing and dignity that their families have. And so Liberation Stories is a tactical tool for how we build narrative power for working class people in the United States. And, there are many books that document movement history or outline organizing theory, but this anthology really focuses on narrative as a contested terrain of power. Stories undergird all of our society. Who is deserving of a living wage? Who is deserving of paid family leave? Who is deserving of dignified and affordable housing? So what we try to do in these 450 pages is show how movement workers are redefining what is possible in our society, what is desirable, what is inevitable. And we do not have to acquiesce to people in power to what they say is inevitable or what they say is desirable, because that is a very narrow group of people in our society. And so we really want readers, and especially those of us working in social movements, people who are agitating against the state, activists, organizers, the artists in our communities, to walk away after reading this book understanding that narrative is so instrumental to how we do our social movement work. It undergirds every other discipline. And this gives us case studies that are dispatches from the front lines of how movements have made meaning for our ideas in the 21st century.
That is such a great breakdown of how we want to look at the word marginalized versus people that are, no one is marginal, but the effort is to marginalize people. And Marzena, I'd like to get your thoughts on that same topic.
Yeah, I would echo everything Shanelle said. And I think, at this moment where inequality is becoming more stark, where in response and in reaction to progressive wins, we are seeing the full strength and throes of fascism being ramped up. We are also in a moment where a lot of people in that context have lost complete faith in our political systems, our institutions, and elected officials. So many people are feeling like the game is so rigged that they don't want to participate. And, I think one of the things that liberation stories and the case studies, the essays, the chapters across this book show is that actually another world is possible and it is already being built, right? So these aren't theoretical examples that just talk about, narrative power as this kind of thing that people like me and Shanelle are cooking up in a lab. It is showing that narrative power is the images in a news article that expose injustice, right? It's the slogans and chants that make you feel this deep sense of belonging when you're at a protest. It is the symbol of the raised fist that makes us feel compelled towards action. And it's ultimately the story that we can tell everyday people that makes liberation feel within reach and like something that is so irresistible that we want to become a part of it. As we've been on tour, we've been witnessing, the incredible campaign that Zoran Mamdani ran in New York City. And it was the kind of story that so many people were glued to because of that sense of hope and optimism that actually politics can be done differently. And I think across the book, there are so many examples of people who are already, Zoran Mamdani is promising that this is what we're going to do together. But in the book, we have so many examples of communities and of movement workers already building that work through cooperatives, through local politics, through mutual aid networks, and basically how we care for one another. So I think it shows that in this moment of increasing marginalization by the state, by corporations, we actually have real life examples of what we could be doing to build the world that we want.
And I think more people are leaning toward, and I talk about this a lot, they're leaning toward activism. And 13.1 million people, if that's the number, showed up throughout the country to speak to the fact that they want to be involved, they want to be connected, they want to protest, and not for the sake of just protesting, but to a greater end, or to build the country that everybody runs around and talks about America being great as. Without everybody being included in that, the country is not going to be able to reach that aspiration of being great again, or whatever the time frame might be. So I appreciate what you guys are doing in this space. Talk a little bit about the time that you've put into getting liberation stories up and out and available to the community.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So Mars and I started working together over a decade ago. I was the director of communications at the Black Lives Matter Global Network, and Mars was working in media at the National Domestic Workers Alliance. And we had to be in touch because the organizations we were working for were making some pretty seismic shifts into the political terrain during the 2010s. So we were thinking about the role of domestic work and the dignity and rights and wages of domestic workers, and also the systemic violence that was plaguing Black people at the hands of the state. especially during the Obama era. And so, part of, you had mentioned earlier, the Radical Communicators Network, part of where this anthology came from is that in 2016, Mars and myself and a bunch of others got on the phone after Trump was elected and started to think about what is the role of the social movement communications worker, of the narrative strategist, to ensure that we tell a story that makes sure that he doesn't get elected again. And we wanted to also align with other communications people who were doing that across the country and across the world, since the rising authoritarianism and fascism isn't just happening here in the U.S., but it's a global phenomenon. And so we started the Radical Communicators Network as a kind of community of practice for people who are telling stories about a different world, a new vision of society, and all the issues that are commensurate with that. And we were inspired by books like Reimagining Change by Patrick Reinsborough and Doyle Canning to think about what a case study book that included contemporary examples from the 21st century of how social movements on the left have built power for big, bold ideas like healthcare as a human right, like the Me Too movement, like Black Lives Matter, like trans rights. And so, we started thinking about the people in our own field who were thinking about these ideas and who were perhaps not necessarily given the invitation to talk about them, because this work that we do with building narrative power is something that happens often behind the scenes, and that is a good thing for social movements. It's not meant to be necessarily something that happens front and center like the organizing work, but it is connected deeply to organizing and policymaking and fundraising and legal strategy. So when we started putting this text together in 2018, we started reaching out to different authors and figuring out who was going to write what. And, Mars and I worked across 6 years, 62 authors, 30 chapters, from, sun up to sundown to pull this anthology and this volume together.
Wow. So Mars, I'm calling you Mars now because I heard Shanelle reference you that way a few times. So I'll call you Mars as well. You guys have this tour. It's obviously been big and bold, and you've got a lot in front of you. You're going to be coming through Chicago next Monday, if I'm correct. Is that on? Is it Monday's the 7th, July 7th? Is that correct?
Yep. At at Barbara Ransby's Chicago Justice Gallery, 6 p.m.
Wow, that's awesome. 6 p.m. next Monday, the 7th, following the American liberation story, i.e. the 4th of July, but really getting into stories about true liberation from people who are on the ground and putting in the work every single day. It's been a joy having you guys on, and I'll put this invitation out now to have you back in the future. This is reading that should be in our schools. It should be for all folks to take advantage of. But I'm glad you guys were able to get out and be on tour and have the ability to interact with people that need to know about your work. How can folks, and Shanelle, you can wrap us up with this, how can folks find you? How can they follow you, et cetera, as we wrap up our session today?
Yeah, you guys can check out more information on the Radical Communicators Network at radcomsnetwork.org. And we would love to see folks in Chicago on Monday. We'll also be in Minneapolis on Tuesday and around the country. So you can get more information about the tour at liberationstories.com.
Fantastic. Shanelle Matthews and Marzena Zukowska, thank you for being with us this morning. Safe travels, and I will do my best to try to poke my head into the event next week here in Chicago over at UIC. So thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Have a great day and travel safely. All right. Bye-bye now.
All right. Goodbye.
Henry, let's take a quick break, my man. Let's go for a little bit of a break. When we come back, we're gonna lean into some other topics and keep us going. 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
This is Dr. Anna Pellick from Total Dentistry in Palatine. Every morning when I listen to the news, I cringe over the racial volatility and political and social chaos occurring in our daily lives. In a world of smartphones, smart houses, self-driving cars, and world's tallest buildings, we still fear or hold back from others because of the color of their skin, who they worship, or who they love. I'm so proud of the diversity of our team at Total Dentistry. How we treat others is the measure of our character, and we truly believe that. Total Dentistry is a very diverse, yet compassionate, professional, great group of people. whose goal is to make you feel comfortable, respected, and safe. When patients tell us they love coming to our office, that's when I know we've succeeded. So visit us at Total Dentistry, where we respect all, those with and without teeth. Total Dentistry, a general dental practice like no other. 847-358-2477. 847-358-2477.
Stephanie Miller.
My personal comedy Jesus.
People are standing up. We're seeing it all over the place. This 21-year-old girl in Colombia who sued the Trump administration because they tried to Mahmoud Khalil her and they backed down. Jeffrey Goldberg is doing this and they're backing down. People are showing up to vote in special elections. Guys, these guys are so beatable and they're messy and they're sloppy and they're dumb. Let's keep it up.
We love you, Tom Fugelsang.
Stephanie Miller, weekday mornings 8 to 11 on WCPT 820.
Hi, I'm Carson Kressley. Of all the resources in the world, kindness is the most precious. For more than 140 years, American Humane has been working to protect animals in disasters, on farms, on the silver screen, and in zoos and aquariums caring for the world's vanishing creatures. You can help too by making humane choices every day. Visit AmericanHumane.org for simple ways to build a more caring and compassionate world for all of us.
A frog in boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in cool water and slowly heat it up, that frog will boil. As veterans, we tell ourselves the lie that we can handle anything. We let the water boil. You are not a frog. If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Has your gambling become a financial and emotional problem? Is your life unmanageable and you're starting to lose hope that you can put an end to the madness? You don't have to suffer alone. There is help. The members of Gamblers Anonymous are ready to welcome and support you. We understand what you're going through. We have been where you are today. Please visit our website at www.gachicago.org and learn more about how your life can get better. That's www.gachicago.org.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Listen, we've got an opportunity to kind of bring you some live information right now through C-SPAN with Minority Leader Jeffries on the House floor.
Donald Trump and complete Republican control here in Washington. Let's understand who is doing you in. People on the other side of the aisle. It's not too late. All we need are 4 Republicans to join us to show John McCain levels of courage. Not on the battlefield, as he did in such an extraordinary way. And yes, Mr. President, John McCain was an American hero and patriot. An American hero and patriot. I may have disagreed with him on a whole host of issues. We cannot disagree with the fact that he was an American patriot and a war hero who served this country overseas. And then he came back home after being a POW year after year after year. And got elected to the United States House of Representatives. Did I get that right, y'all? To the United States House of Representatives. Just making sure y'all are paying attention. All good things start in the United States House of Representatives, as far as we're concerned. And then he went over to the Senate. And then in one of his final acts of courage, he pushed back against the effort to rip away health care from millions of Americans. All we need is 4 Republicans to show John McCain levels of courage when it comes to protecting the health, the safety, and the well-being of the American people, protecting the nutritional assistance of the American people. I think earlier today, I may have neglected to mention the leadership of Jim McGovern, who's done an extraordinary job leading the charge on the Rules Committee as we've pushed back against this all-out assault on the American people. Hour after hour after hour after hour, Jim McGovern, the members of the Rules Committee, and so many members of the House Democratic Caucus pushing amendment after amendment, debating hard against this one big ugly bill on behalf of the American people. Jim McGovern, of course, longtime champion for combating hunger in the United States of America. So thankful for Jim's resilience and his strength, even in the face of great tragedy. Continues to battle hard on behalf of the American people. Julie writes, SNAP has been an amazing help to my family. Very grateful to receive it. I'm a single mom of twin 13-year-old girls. I've been on my own with my girls since they were 1 and have never received child support. I do work. People who receive Medicaid work. People who receive SNAP work. So some people in this town need to stop lying to the American people. Mr. Speaker, I said some people in this town need to stop lying to the American people. Julie said, I do work. But don't make enough money to cover all my expenses. It's a big misunderstanding that people on SNAP don't have jobs. My children would eat very poorly if I didn't have SNAP. I would have to rely on church food pantries, and they could only offer the bare minimum. The food banks don't give basics like milk and bread. That's Julie's experience. Mr. Speaker, she lives in Ohio's 14th Congressional District, represented by our colleague, Congressman David Joyce. We heard from Mark from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Mark says, I've collected Medicaid and SNAP benefits for over a decade now. I may well have found myself in a worse place if not for these programs. Giving freely and charitably is the way of Jesus. Reverend Cleaver, some people in this chamber need to hear those words again. given freely and charitably is the way of Jesus. That's someone who's talking like a Matthew 25 and 35 Christian. SNAP and Social Security benefits have been life-saving for me. They literally keep me alive. I suffer from severe depression, anxiety, OCD, and have Asperger's. This is why I'm on Social Security and SNAP. I believe that everyone should have access to these benefits. And in an ideal world, our communities would be centered around love, harmony, and the protection of each other. That's real love. Not fake love, like promising to love and cherish Medicaid, and then turning around and presiding over the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, which is what Donald Trump's one big ugly bill represents. Mark says, I believe that everyone should have access to these benefits. And in an ideal world, our communities would be centered around love, harmony, and the protection of each other. That's the kind of leadership that this country needs and deserves right now, but that's the kind of leadership it's not getting from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Mr. Speaker, Mark lives in Pennsylvania's 1st Congressional District. I believe that district is represented by our colleague, Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick. I want to ask the question, what happened earlier today? How was it that a few hours ago, several of my Republican colleagues had principled opposition to Donald Trump's one big ugly bill? Several hours ago, how is it that so many of our Republican colleagues, Mr. Speaker, had principled opposition to Donald Trump's one big ugly bill? Either because of the devastating assault on Medicaid, health care, supplemental nutritional assistance, assault on veterans, assault on clean energy jobs, assault on the cost of living, which is represented in this bill, or because of the assault on the fiscal irresponsibility of a bill that will explode the deficit, increase the debt by trillions of dollars, send us on a death spiral potentially as it relates to our economy? How is it, Mr. Speaker, that so many of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle had principled opposition just a few hours ago and now seem prepared to fold on the floor of the House of Representatives? Don't you have some responsibility, Mr. Speaker, to say to the American people what happened? What deals were cut? What occurred in the back room? It will all come out one way or the other, Mr. Speaker. Incredible to me that this Congress is on the verge of ripping food out of the mouths of children veterans, and seniors as a result of this one big ugly bill in order to reward billionaires with massive tax breaks and exploding the debt in the process. I mentioned earlier in my remarks that as House Democrats, we envision a different country than the one that is being ravaged by such extremism right now. Imagine a country where every single American can afford to live the good life. Good paying job, good housing, good health care, good education for your children, and a good retirement. Work hard, play by the rules, live the good life. That's the America that we should be working hard right now to bring about for every single American. But we know there are far too many Americans in this country struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That should not be the case in this great country. The wealthiest country in the history of the world, a country that has become far too expensive for far too many people. Donald Trump promised to lower the high cost of living on day one. He made that promise to the American people. Made that promise, hadn't happened on day one, hasn't happened on month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, month 6. It's not happening. Mr. Speaker, costs aren't going down. Costs are going up in the United States of America. Life is becoming more expensive. And it seems to me that in this great country, this Congress should be working hard to build an affordable economy for hardworking American taxpayers. That's our plan. That's our vision. That's our goal as House Democrats, an affordable economy for hardworking American taxpayers. But Donald Trump's one big ugly bill will make life more expensive for the American people. Lynette wrote to us. She's also a resident of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Said, I'm a single mom of 3 girls. Although my 2 older girls are out of the home, they and I struggle. I work full time, but it's not enough to get by. Without the help of SNAP and Section 8, I would not be able to afford anything. I sacrifice every day so my daughters can have food and a place to come home and call home. I get $124 a month in food stamps. $124 a month in food stamps, which isn't enough as food prices keep going up. With the little help I do get from the government, I am grateful and blessed. Last year, I passed out after a church service and was rushed to the hospital. I didn't have any insurance at this time, but I was treated. However, I could not pay back the services that I received, and I still need treatments. I have been choosing to pay for rent and food, but I have these bills and other appointments that I need to go to but don't have the extra money, and I don't qualify for Medicare, don't make enough to get insurance on the marketplace for insurance. Lynette, without the help of SNAP and Section 8, I would not be able to afford anything. Mr. Speaker, Lynette resides in Pennsylvania's 7th congressional district, a district represented by our colleague, Congressman Ryan McKenzie. Wendy writes to us from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Says that I am a single mother of 2 children, and due to bone cancer, I now live with a disability and am unable to work. I have not only survived cancer, but my children and I also survived domestic abuse. I have been making ends meet while not working or receiving any child support for almost 2 years. To my family, SNAP is literally life or death. And while I hope that one day my circumstances will improve to the point that I will not need the assistance for now, Wendy tells us, it is our lifesaver. That's what these safety net programs represent. Lifesavers for Americans in need. And instead of protecting these life-saving programs, these life-sustaining programs, what we see from this one big ugly bill is that nutritional assistance for the American people will be decimated. And as a result, millions of Americans, our fellow Americans, are at risk of going hungry. That is not right in the United States of America. It's not right. And that is why we're...
That is House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries giving them the business, speaking truth to power on the House floor about what this bill is doing. And sometimes I think, and we're all not at fault, but can be susceptible to this, is we speak in broader terms, and that has its place. But what he's doing this morning, in my opinion, is a masterclass of how you make it personal. He's making it personal, real time, for Americans to hear and to see what this is doing to people individually in their day-to-day lives and how they are being personally impacted by the strength of the programs. He's talking about what the folks are speaking to, the things that the programs have done for them in a beneficial way, and how taking those programs away will cause just severe heartache and destruction and in, unfortunately, in many cases, death. But you know what it puts, what it does cause to die? And this is one of the other pieces of hypocrisy of this crazy MAGA movement, Make America Great Again. How in the hell you make America great again when you're taking away some of the things that would allow people to to sustain themselves, to live? How do they know that a child who's growing up in a family where these benefits sustain him or her isn't going to be one of the next great leaders of this country? But they're stifling that. They're cold watering it out. They're dampening, if not killing, that young child's spirit. And there's so many words that it is and it is not. But I'm just going to call it what I think it is. It's just downright stupid. We know the harmful words that it is causing, but it's just stupid. And so I appreciate Speaker Jeffries doing the job and having the courage and bringing that Brooklynism to the table to say, listen, this is what y'all are actually doing. These are the people that are actually being hurt. But what I want to leave you with something, hopefully from a somewhat inspirational standpoint as we go forward this weekend, about our ability to be involved and to take charge and to take have our hands involved in the destinies that we seek. And there's a clip from a segment on MSNBC with Stephanie Rule that we're going to play for you real quick, and then we'll wrap up.
We are living in a time where we do have world leaders calling each other's losers and liars and morons. We do have the richest man in the world cutting off aid to the poorest people, making it more difficult for senior citizens to get access to the money that's owed to them. If this is how our leaders are treating us, and in theory, they're the example setters, and we're the ones at the bottom, we're the individuals, what do we do to get out of this? Help us.
I think it's important to realize we are also example setters. We're not at the bottom. Each one of us is a parent. Each one of us is a boss. Each one of us is a person walking down the street seeing litter on the ground. And what are you going to do with the part of the world that's in your control, which is your own actions? So, yeah, look, we all need to vote in elections. We all need to speak out politically. That's part of our job as not just human beings, but the Stoics said this too. But at the same time, we do have a lot of control over our individual actions, how we spend our days, how we treat the people around us, and we can set counter examples. We can stand out amidst the cruelty and the chaos and the dysfunction by being what we wish other people would be. That is up to us.
The phrase that's been used, we're the heroes that we've been waiting for. I think I got that right. We are, guys. We definitely are. There's no question in my mind about it. And if that weren't true, just let this resonate for a second. If it weren't true that we are the ones that can dictate and drive our destiny, then why would the Republicans, and I'm being very specific and pointed, the GOP, the leaders, the money behind them, why would they be working so damn hard to shut down so much of the things that would allow for people to show that independence? So he's absolutely right. We get to be a participant in the controlling of this destiny. And yes, we want our leaders to do their part. We want our leaders to be it today like Representative and Minority Speaker Jeffries is being. But we should do the same thing, y'all. We should be willing to call out the BS from people that we know and many that we may love. Real time. And like Karen Byrne said earlier today, get educated. Fill your tank with more information so that when you come across someone or someone comes across your path with this garbage about, the bill and the Republican Party and how great they are and all these other things that we've been hearing for weeks, if not months, you can stand on business. And you can let people know, no, not today, son. That's not going to cross my path without me calling it out for what it is. That's what I want you guys to be willing to do. I know you're willing to do it. And I know you're able to do it. It's just a question of throwing the pitch. Make yourself that leader. Let people know you will not tolerate this malarkey, to use a Joe Biden term. Let folks know, no, we're not going to stand for it. Stand up and fight for the people who you believe in and love and care about. And look in the mirror and say, this is unacceptable. Take charge of these things. Let the celebration of July 4th and independence and all that we have known it to be, with all its flaws, let this Independence Day be the one where you say, no, I'm drawing a line in the damn sand this time. You can't come for me. You can't come for us without coming through me, to use the words of J.B. Pritzker. Let that be your new mantra. And I promise you, if you stand up and fight, those that are trying to pull us apart will take note of it. So please, y'all, understand that on this Independence Day weekend, that's part of what we have to be willing to do, is to stand up and fight. I appreciate you guys always being with us. It's a joy to come here and be able to be a part of this show and a part of this team. Shout out to all of the folks here at WCPT, everybody who's out there listening. Have a safe weekend. And as we always say, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you next week.
It's nice to know someone is on your side. Mark Drugs always has your back. No two dogs are the same. A dosage form or strength of medication that works for one dog may not work for another. A compounding pharmacy like Mark Drugs is here to help you with your pet's medication challenges. We'll be happy to help you when your pet is sick. After all, it can affect the whole family. That's why we give our four-legged patients customized medications to make it easier for them to take. For pet medication problems, first see your veterinarian, then talk to your home